Hey everyone, it's Marcel, and this is another episode of The Vault on the Road. Today we are in Bozeman on the Montana State University campus with the Montana World Affairs Council for the annual event, EconoQuest. So stay tuned, we have some really great conversations coming your way. So we are at EconoQuest on the campus of Montana State University, Bozeman. Welcome. Do you want to just give a little introduction of yourself, who you are, and what you do?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Marcel. I really appreciate the opportunity to get on this podcast and talk about what the Space Force Association is all about. My name is Bill Woolf. I'm a retired Air Force colonel where I spent 24 years focusing on space superiority missions. And so it made a lot of sense when I retired in 2018 to found an organization to interact with the Space Force. And a couple of months after I founded it, the Space Force stood up. So we've been around for six years. And what we do is we educate folks about what the Space Force does. For those who want to start their space careers, regardless of if it's in the commercial, civil, or national security sector, that they have a way to on-ramp into that career. So really excited to have this discussion today.
Wow. Thank you. One, thank you for your service. This is we'll probably have to do an hour long at some point, like a long format, because I'm so curious and have a lot of questions about just all of what you just said. But we're at EconoQuest, and so I have some EconoQuest-esque related questions. Have you sponsored this before? Because you are a sponsor of the event.
We are a sponsor of the event, and this is our first time sponsoring this event.
Good.
And it's because, I founded Space Force Association at the national level and global level. So we have chapters across the United States and around the globe. And so I wanted to start SFA Montana. So I'm starting SFA Montana chapter, and so here I am supporting EconoQuest here in Montana.
Here you are. So it makes it sound, where are you based out of normally?
Wolf Creek, Montana.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, just north of Helena.
Did you grow up there?
No.
Okay, sorry.
Wouldn't that have been
I have
nice?
a lot of rabbit hole questions to go down, so I'll try to contain my excitement.
Real quick on that, because it is interesting. We live off-grid, 20 acres, middle of nowhere.
Wow, I really love that.
But I fell in love, my wife and I fell in love with Montana when we were stationed here. This is our first duty assignment, was in Great Falls.
Yeah, okay.
So I was up there in Great Falls, and I'll say the year, and I'm going to date myself, but let's just say the mid-90s.
Okay.
And we fell in love with Montana. We've been trying to get back ever since. So in 2020, we sold everything down south, and we went all in on Montana. We've been landowners since 2000.
Wow. Well, welcome back more formally to Montana. We'll call it your home state, even though maybe it's not. We'll call it that. Cool. Okay, so you guys are in Montana all across the country, the world. So my first question for you is, why do you think programs like EconoQuest are important for Montana students and the future of our workforce?
Here's what I'm really excited about. This is the first time I'm witnessing and attending EconoQuest. And in my short couple of hours that I've been engaged in the programming, I'm already very excited about the future of this country.
Me too.
These high school students are tackling some big challenges, some big problems, and they're excited about it as well. And they can talk eloquently about it, and they know exactly what their niche is. And so it's critical for these types of programs to happen to give the students an opportunity to demonstrate their expertise, to create the knowledge that they know they're going to need as they enter the workforce. And yeah, like I said, I've been nothing but excited with interacting with the students here today.
I know. I'm very excited for the future because of them, but they're also, like you said, just very articulate. And I think they also see, because I had a couple of them on earlier, they were fun. But just talking about the importance of networking and building relationships. And they were just really speaking highly of wow, we have access to not only foreign, consul generals and others, but also businesses that are here spending their time with us. And they just were very appreciative of that. So really cool. Yeah.
And Montana's great for that.
It is.
You want to talk about a network. Montana's one big statewide network.
Yeah, we could probably list off some people we know that are in Great Falls, right?
That
we know together, but we'll wait and save that for later, maybe after dinner. So I think to this, and I'm excited to hear your perspective on this, but from your perspective, how's Montana connected to the global economy?
Interesting. There's a lot of opportunity here in Montana. And what I've been talking to folks around the state about is, what do you think the sectors are, the big economic sectors here in Montana are? And obviously, we point towards agriculture, and we point towards tourism. Those are some easy ones right out of the gate. All I'm saying as a proponent for technology, specifically space technology, is we should examine how the space economy, how Montana can help impact the future space economy. So not a lot of people know this. The future space economy is going to be estimated at about $2 trillion.
Wow.
That economy is underpinned, just like any other economy, it's underpinned by a strong national security apparatus. So the real question is, what are the opportunities here in Montana, specifically Montana State University, Montana Tech, to not only generate the workforce that we know we need, but to retain the workforce here in Montana? Are the companies here creating an opportunity for those graduates from MSU and from Montana Tech to stay here in Montana? I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to space technology companies and talking to folks who graduated from MSU, and they said, yeah, if there was an opportunity to stay in Montana, I would have. But I had to go where the opportunities were.
I think we see a lot of that in specialized engineering and other fields too, but like they can't, if they want to work in biotech or other things, there's only so many things they can do here, and to get that experience that they went and got their degree in, they have to leave the state. But something seems to always pull them back, and we call them boomerangs. But
that's right.
You're kind of one too.
Yeah. I sure am.
You know?
I'm happy to be one too.
But I think to your point, like, how do you make sure that industry's here?
Yes.
That
there's
them.
A place for them to go. So quantum and what the Quantum Association is doing here is phenomenal. So quantum computing, I had no idea. There was so much quantum going on here at MSU. I had no idea the laser technology that was being created here. So plenty of opportunity that now we got to scale.
Yep.
You know, the education is here. Now we got to bring the companies here.
Yeah, bring the companies, start the companies.
That's right.
Yeah, grow our own a little bit. Yeah, I really like that. So, you know, as a business person, someone that founded your own company, what's a takeaway or message that you hope these students take away with when they leave EconoQuest after everything wraps tomorrow?
Here's what's interesting about this generation. The way, I say my generation, the older generation grew up is we grew up believing there were certain parameters that you had to do to be a leader in an organization, whether it's a company or an organization. Those are not the same for these kids today. They have technological advancements to their advantage. And so they're going to use that. Additionally, they're probably not going to subscribe to a 60-hour, 80-hour work week. And here we are doing exactly that. But these kids, they got an opportunity to create the way they're going to interact with this economy, and it's going to be hopefully different than the way we did it. And it's going to be more efficient, and it's going to be more deliberate. One thing I said, I heard it last week, it was regarding AI, and I said it today, it's don't let AI jeopardize your reasoning. So keep your reasoning going forward. Don't let AI just take your reasoning away from you. Use AI to generate momentum if you need to, but still have the reason in your skull so that you can make the decision you need to make.
Yeah. So I'm going to add one in a little bit. Yeah. So if companies in Montana, and then we'll get to our other ones, but I'm just dying to know, want to get connected with you or involved in your organization, how do they do that?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, I don't typically, I don't market SFA very well.
It's okay, but we're here.
So yeah, let me go ahead and tell you. You can go to https://ussfa.org and you can get involved. And what's really cool about what we're doing is in every state, we want to have a chapter. So that's the vision, is create a chapter in every state. And I'm going to even take it another step forward. What does it mean when I say space power? Do companies understand how they can contribute to space power? And space power is a doctrinal term to ensure freedom of action in the space domain. So my vision is to have a space power center in every single state. So now any company who wants to know how to get involved with the space economy, which, by the way, I think any company should be figuring out right now how to get involved with the space economy, there's a way to figure out where their niche is.
And so the Montana chapter is starting or started?
I will say I am the committee chair
okay.
for the SFA Montana chapter.
So we're in the Montana chapter?
Yes.
Okay.
And you're volunteer number one.
Yeah,
in the
I
committee.
am. I'm ready. Let's go. I'm ready.
Perfect.
I'm excited and happy. So, okay, that's great. That's great. I also, this one I'm excited because you're here as a company, as a sponsor. We have students, we have teachers, we have other companies you've connected with since we've been here today. Montana is known for its small town feel, but big global reach. How do you see that in the spirit represented here today at EconoQuest?
Yeah, interesting. One, you can see the business leadership that's just walking around here, and it seems like it's just a bunch of friends, teams that have always hung out together. And not only that, they're willing to open up the team and say, hey, welcome to the team. Mm-hmm. So there's no holds barred as far as bringing folks in. And then you start hearing the stories about how a delegation from Montana has visited Japan recently to talk about trade opportunities between Montana and Japan.
Yeah, they just got back Saturday.
Night. It's
Monday.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Canadian delegation is here talking about how do we do trade with Canada at the sub-national level. That's exciting conversation. And so these students are witnessing those discussions, having discussions or listening to those discussions happening, and they're seeing what's in the art of the possible. They're not limited by geography or by bias, but they're saying, hey, I'm a Montanan too, and those Montanans are doing that, so I want to do that as well.
Yeah. And my last question for you, I'm sure you've traveled around a lot, it sounds like, but what's a bucket list destination for you right now? Just anywhere in the whole world.
In the whole world. I've been around a lot. So I think it's
It could
funny.
be going back to, too. No?
Right. Yeah. I think would be cool is to head to Tibet. I think that'd be interesting because there's so much happening there. And I was stationed in Afghanistan, so I could see the Hindu Kush from where I was stationed in Afghanistan, but I could always imagine what would that be like to go to Tibet. And then friends of mine have actually gone mountain biking in Tibet. So that would be a bucket list item. But it's funny because now that we're here, my wife and I are here, I always ask her, hey, you want to go travel here or there? She goes, no. There's so much to see right here in our state.
There is.
And so we're not planning on traveling anywhere. We're just planning on spending a lot of time just exploring around Montana because there's so much to see.
Do you have a next Montana road trip planned?
Not road trip, but here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do a portion of the Great Divide mountain bike ride.
Okay.
From Calgary down to New Mexico.
Wow.
And if I could just do the Montana section of it, I'll call it a win.
I would call that a win. I'm like that. You're speaking over my head. I do not mountain bike, so I cannot add any context to that conversation.
That would be it. That's my bucket list in Montana.
Cool. Well, Bill, thanks for coming on. It was a joy to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Marcel. Appreciate the time.
Thanks. So we are at EconoQuest in Bozeman on the campus of Montana State University. And I am sitting here with some students from Sentinel. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves and tell us what year you are and what brought you to EconoQuest?
Yeah, so I'm Eil Steinberg. I'm junior at Sentinel High School. Luca and I here are on the same team. We are both interested in global economics, diplomacy, and public service and politics. And so this is a very unique event for us because it helps to actually quantify and demonstrate those areas of interest. It's not just theoretical. You're actually meeting business leaders. You're actually meeting people who work in global diplomacy, and that opens up opportunity for students. And that's what makes this so unique.
Yeah, and my name is Lukac Khomenko. I'm a senior at Sentinel High School, and I came to EconoQuest because, well, it's my third year, and I had a lot of fun, coming back and trying different industries each year for different regions of focus have really opened up my eyes and perspectives in the role that Montana plays in the entire global trade as a whole. And also, I hope to pursue my interest in international affairs and international business one day when I pursue it in college. And so this will definitely provide that as a opportunity and a gateway for that to make it for that to be reality.
Yeah, this is like a really good foundational thing to have like under your belt experience, just as you look at what does college have to offer and using some of these experiences. So you guys are my first students on today. So for those listening, which there's a lot that maybe don't know what EconoQuest is, and you guys talked a little bit about projects, but what is your role as a student in EconoQuest? Because this is an event all about for you.
Yeah, so as a student, we're supposed to create creative ideas and collaborate with each other and talk about stuff that we really care about and that we find will affect us in the future. Because since we're the next step towards building Montana up and the global sphere, it's important for us to be connected and to stay aware about different industries that Montana has to offer. So our role is to find those creative solutions that Montana can offer to the world.
And what makes EconoQuest so unique is the level of specificity. You're not speaking in generalities about economics. You're studying specific economic sectors. You're studying how economics plays a role in individual people's lives, how it transcends national boundaries. It gives you a much better perspective on it as opposed to just studying macroeconomics in school.
Okay. Yeah. And are you guys the other two that are like in your leadership team of your club at school?
Yes. I am the vice president, and Eli, you are the secretary. Yes.
Oh, you're the vice principal. I didn't know that.
I think that's really fun. I love that for us, vice president. Yeah, because I was sitting with your other classmates and they're like, the boys did a team, the girls did a team. So are we competitive with them a little, this tiny bit?
Well,
we want them to do well, right? We're
diplomatic. We all want everybody to do well.
Yeah. So tell me about your guys' project.
So
this project.
What Luca and I are doing, and I should also give credit to Weston Schick, our third team member, we're marketing, and this again gets into the level of specificity here.
Yeah.
We're marketing cattle embryonics and cattle genetics to beef-producing countries in South America, Argentina, Chile, Brazil, Peru. And Montana has several advantages there. We talk about comparative advantage.
Yeah, what's our comparative advantage?
Well, number one, we have already greater studying into cattle embryonics in Montana and at MSU. We have already companies that are specializing in that in Bozeman and Laurel, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And we also have, by virtue of being a beef-producing state, we have better breeds, and we have people with experience in the agricultural sector who can provide expertise to those countries we're exporting to.
And what's your slogan on your booth, on your little, I forget what they call them, the three?
The panels?
Yeah, the panels.
Our slogan is actually raising the stakes.
Yeah, I saw that one. I didn't want to say it because I'm like, well, it's not theirs, but it's pretty clever.
Thank you. Yeah, it relates to the idea that we're building the beef industry in those South American countries, and so we're building them with premium Montana cattle by using our embryonic technology to send them to those countries. So yeah.
We definitely came up with that slogan ourselves. It definitely wasn't AI.
We didn't use chat for that.
No. We went through several. We considered taking stock. What was the other one? Cattle genetics, a bunch of bull, ? So we went through several.
You have to have something like clever and catchy, right?
Yeah.
You want people to remember you.
Yeah.
Right. So you guys have been doing this for 3 years. You're at 2 years, 3 years?
2 years.
2 years, 3 years?
3 years, yeah.
Okay, so we've been in it. We've learned a lot. From your guys' perspective, what industries or opportunities in Montana do you think have the strongest potential for international growth outside of this competition?
Well, we just had a speaker from Space Force speak to us this morning, and I think that's a good example of some of the industries that Montana should be focusing on, the modern 21st century industries: space, air, new technologies, science and research, and we already have advantages in that as a state, but there's more we can do. Currently, we're ranked third from the bottom in business as a state. We're ranked 48th, and that's fallen several spaces over the past several years, and so we can do better as a state. I think we also have to look at revitalizing some of our resource extraction, keeping in mind both environmental and economic impacts, but some of our logging and our timber and our mining, those are important industries that create jobs and create stability for communities across the state. So looking at older industries as well as modern 21st century industry, I think is where the state should be at.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think also if we look at the critical minerals that are being used in new technologies, Montana has many different sites where critical minerals are being extracted and can be extracted in the future as well. And so if we continue to use Montana's extractive advantages while also using I guess if you consider an industry even as ecotourism as one example, that's another really good opportunity that Montana has, since it's the fourth largest state in the United States, and we have some of the most pristine wildlife habitats. And that's kind of like, you can't have resource extraction and ecotourism, but I think there's a balance that's been struck in Montana almost between those two industries, and I think that's really what's made Montana such a special state, in the United States as a whole.
Yeah, so you guys have been here a few times, so you kind of get the lay of the land. You've competed. You probably do the spring event too, I would imagine.
Yep, we both do Academic World Quest.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't remember what it was called. What do you hope for students that maybe are thinking about, maybe aren't here today, or students that are here for the first time? What do you hope they take away when they leave Bozeman tomorrow?
Well, I hope they take away a new, more direct perspective. Actually being able to sit down. We were eating lunch with business leaders and people from Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce, various business leaders in photonics and other industries, being able to actually talk to those people and hear their concerns and hear their perspectives. And anything to do with social studies, and this is a social studies event, is hearing different perspectives from different people. So that's what I'd hope people take away.
Yeah, and I think one key thing that we need students to always remind themselves of, and this goes for me as well, I've learned this over the years, is just going out there and just being yourself, being authentic, and putting yourself out there, whether that's in a competition like this, and also just networking with people and having that practice of working with real business leaders in Montana, in your home state. You can bring that anywhere, whether you're in New York, whether you're in Tokyo, whether you're in London. You can bring this anywhere, of these skills of networking and being able to connect people. And that's a development that the world is heading towards, is that we need more connection. We need to focus on Montana being connected with the world, whether that's through digital technology, whether that's through photonics, or whether that's even still through extractives or
building bridges between people.
When we're focused on that, if we're focused on that as students, then I think that we can have a really great experience from this EconoQuest competition. Yeah,
so you guys have been in this realm for a while. We've talked on that. I think what you said is really important, right? Even as adults, it's really about relationships, networking, having those strong relationships. So when you do need something, you can pick up the phone or text, whatever you guys do nowadays, but and call someone and be like, hey, here's what I'm thinking. From a diplomatic international trade perspective, being at EconoQuest and the other academic World Quest and things, what are some of those things that you guys have learned from diplomats you've met, business leaders you've met at these types of events that stand out to you?
Well, expand on what Luca was saying. I think connectivity is important, and countries being able to solve their problems constructively, not destructively, is important. So, for example, we were just meeting with some of the members of the consulate from Canada, and that's a country that right now we're in the headlines with, we have some tension with. And just like with any country, there's always going to be problems and difficulties in our international relations, and those are things that we need to sort out. But we should do that constructively, whether it's in trade or foreign policy or national security. Any of those things, we're better off making allies and friends in the world, because that makes us stronger instead of burning bridges.
What does constructively look like to you?
Dialogue. The idea that not talking to countries is punishment to them is ridiculous. And the same thing with economics and trade. There are problems in our trade relationship with the rest of the world. America doesn't get a fair deal for our economic standing. We don't our workers are often short-sighted, but the way to solve those problems of outsourcing and unequal economic growth is diplomatically. It's not to cut off trade. It's not short-term ideological policies that aren't nuanced, that don't meet the moment.
Yeah, just to expand, I think what I've learned from all of these diplomatic leaders is being able to have an open mindset to different perspectives from what you have been taught the narrative of, like whether that's shifting your perspective on how Asia, for example, views the United States has been a key interest of mine, and I wish to pursue that in college. And being able to build that relationship and see both sides is definitely a skill, not only in human relations, but as well in international relations as well. So I think being able to nurture that is an extremely important skill.
Yeah, I think those are both really good insights shared by both of you. So my last question for you, and I'm excited to hear what you both of you say. What's your ultimate bucket list destination that you want to go, that you maybe haven't yet across? And we're not just limited to Montana. We're talking about the whole world.
I want to go to the cafeteria. I'm hungry.
You're still hungry from lunch, okay?
I'm kidding.
You can go get a snack.
I'm kidding. I would love to go to India, which is where first place team went last year.
I talked to one of those students. It was really fun to hear her perspective of the trip. Yeah.
So that's a place I'd love to go. And also the focus region this year, I think Latin America is a place that, quite frankly, doesn't get enough attention in American media. Our relationship with Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, those countries, it's going to be very important into the 2020s and the 2030s. So that's another place I'd like to visit.
Yeah, I would say there's different categories you can put this in. Like where would you want to go? I would say for enjoyment purposes, I would love to go to Thailand because I just love the culture there. I love the history and learning about all of the history that's happened. I love just history in general. And I would say if I were to pick somewhere that's meaningful to me in terms of my career, I would love to go to somewhere like New York City and go to the UN General Assembly building, or go to The Hague in Brussels in Belgium, just because those places, I think when you're there, you kind of realize, wow, this is really where the world revolves around, and it's just extremely enlightening experience.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's been fun. I'm glad you're at EconoQuest, going strong. Good luck with your competition, and thanks for joining us on The Vault.
Thank you.
We're on campus at MSU for EconoQuest with Montana World Affairs Council today. Excited to be having this conversation with you. But before we get into my list of questions that I have, do you want to just introduce yourself, tell us who you are, a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, my name's Jillien Streit, and I am the Director of Agriculture for the state of Montana since January of this year. But prior to that, I'm a proud entrepreneur, business owner, fifth-generation family farm. My husband and I have the pleasure of running, and we are just avid entrepreneurs.
I love that. So you guys, you do the farming by day and this by day, so you're busy. Traveling across the state probably a lot.
Yeah, a lot of national travel, a lot of international travel in the capacity as the Director of Agriculture, and a ton of state travel. But I love traveling across the state of Montana. It's just the vast differences from every corner, but it all comes together and makes the most wonderful people.
Yeah, it does. I enjoy traveling across the state too. So my first question for you is, why do you think programs like EconoQuest are important for Montana students and the future of our workforce?
I believe that programs like this plant a seed. And so maybe a little...
I like the egg. Okay,
yeah, maybe a little corny. I'll go back to my egg background. But that's really what it is. There's a lot of fertile ground out there in these mines. And if we can plant the seeds, that's really all it's going to take to get a couple of them to grow. I mean, as a producer, every seed that you put into the ground, you don't expect to grow. And you don't expect it to... I guess more importantly is when you plant one seed, the amount of other seeds that can come off of that. And so I just think that these kind of programs are a fabulous way to get kids involved with other people around the state, with their peers, with leaders in these industries, and have access to ideas and markets that they wouldn't have in their small little hometowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they wouldn't. But I think it's cool that they come from all across the state to be here together.
Absolutely.
That's really cool.
I've met kids from Helena. I've met kids from Lame Deer. I've seen kids from Chester, my hometown.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so every different, genre of school districts is here, and that's really, really cool.
Yeah, and on campus, which is fun. My next question for you is, from your perspective, how's Montana connected to the global economy?
Montana produces a massive amount of commodities. We have just over 1 million people in our state, and we have one of the largest areas of production for wheat, barley, chickpeas, peas, lentils. Montana produces, I think it's over 36 billion loaves of bread could come out of the state of Montana.
That's a lot
on an annual basis.
That's a lot.
I think it's close to that, because it's a pound of bread. One loaf of bread is 1 pound of wheat, and a pound of there's 60 pounds in a bushel, and we produce over 1 million bushels.
I'm sure the math
year.
People listening are like doing it.
I bet they are.
That is not me. But I completely believe you in whatever you say.
And so when you think about it, we are connected to the global marketplace because we're literally feeding the world. Mm-hmm. And we're also, unfortunately, then subject to the global marketplace as well. Years like this, when our commodity prices are incredibly low, every single one of our producers is feeling it. Cattle market is kind of the opposite, but even just in the last couple of days, some different things get said, and the cattle market tanks, and so we are interconnected with the global marketplace. What does the price of rice in China mean? Well, it means a lot to our egg producers. All of those markets are interconnected, and as our economy continues to become more interdependent, and as our world continues to get actually literally smaller because of our connectivity, we are going to see that agriculture is going to be affected hugely. And Montana, while egg is our number one economic driver, we also have a lot of other aspects of our state that are starting to play in the global marketplace.
What are some of those things for those listening that maybe aren't as plugged in?
Yeah, so I just returned from a trade mission with the governor and 42 members from Montana. We went to South Korea and Japan. It was a wonderful, enlightening experience, getting to see their culture, meet with industry representatives from photonics, quantum, bioscience. It was just amazing. Montana is on the forefront of a lot of those things as well. We can definitely rely on agriculture to be our steadfast, because we are really, really good at producing commodities, but we're also really, really good at producing people. Mm-hmm. And the people that we produce have a brilliant and amazing minds, and holding on to those people and making sure that they stay here in the state of Montana, but have access to the world, is really important.
I like that, have access to the world, but they can do it from here.
Exactly.
And go visit and do cool things like a trade mission. My next question for you, and so it kind of goes off of the one that I just asked you, but what industries or opportunities in Montana do you think have the strongest potential for international growth?
I think every industry does. And the reason I say that is the only limiting factor is people's imaginations and connectivity. If you can imagine it and there's a need for it, you can get it into the global marketplace. And I'm not just saying that willy-nilly. My husband and myself and our business partners, we did that. We imagined cropping practices being different because we had seen them different in another place in the world, just southern Alberta, where they were rotating pulses, which at the time we didn't really even know what those were. So chickpeas, peas, and lentils as a nitrogen fixer. And we imagined doing that and how that could maybe change our agronomic practices, maybe make us more affordable, maybe make it more practical on our own farms. But in imagining that, we had to find markets for those products that were coming off of it. And so with some creativity and some courage, we started Strix Ag, a pulse processing facility and commodities dealership there in Chester, Montana. By the time we knew what we were doing, we were already way over our heads in the best kind of way. When you can create a business that creates so much demand for the services that you're providing that it outgrows you in a couple of years, that's really cool. We partnered with other companies from Kansas, the Redwood Group, and by the time we sold our shares in the company in 2024, it was internationally, it was trading with about 35 different countries.
Wow.
It had, not all at once, but we had touched so many different marketplaces, and it had grown so fast. But it was a lot of hard work, a lot of risks that were taken, a lot of creativity. But it all really stemmed from 4 kids, because we were kids at the time, just having an idea and pushing forward and following through and taking risk.
And I think a huge kudos to you guys for doing that, because I'm sure there were days and moments where you're all like, what did we do? Like, there's a lot of unknown, or we just don't know what we don't know, right?
Yeah.
That you persevered through and you did it.
Yeah. And we were blessed with the opportunity to have, our family farms that were our backbone, but also we were risking and leveraging our family farms in order to do this.
Your livelihood.
Not only our livelihood, but our children's livelihood, the legacy of the parents that had come before us, and trusting really yourselves, because that's the only people that you can push on to get it done. When you're creating your own business, it's scary, but it's rewarding for sure.
Yeah, that's really, there's so many other questions I have for you, but for EconoQuesting, I'll keep it kind of to the questions that I have for you. What's a takeaway or message that you hope our Montana students leave tomorrow as they leave EconoQuest? What's something you hope they take away?
That they are capable of creating an international business right here in Montana. And that just because you come from a town of, let's say, 800 people, that doesn't limit your ability to access global marketplaces. You're the only limiting factor in that. And you have to just push and persevere. And there's so many opportunities in Montana.
There's really great resources, right? Like connections, you guys at the Department of Agriculture, the Montana Department of Commerce, and Nikki and her crew, Brigida with the Montana World Affairs Council. There's just so many resources and people that I think want to rally around you to help you be successful with whatever it is, right, that you're wanting to do.
Absolutely. In building our businesses, we have relied on every single one of those resources that you just mentioned. And it's actually a benefit of being from a small state that you have all those resources and not that much population. So it's really one-on-one. You can get one-on-one meetings. You can sit down with, those people, and they will take time and they will research and they will dig in, because they are just as vested in your success as you are.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of advantages too, right? Whether if you're, like a veteran or a woman or other thing categorically that you can hit as a company, as a business, that also open up other incentives and options for you that maybe you just didn't even know, right?
Yeah, I guess, and just across the entire thing is Montana is still a rural state. And so there are a lot of opportunities in rural development that come from a federal level or a state level. And so, just because you come from a small town doesn't mean you need to think small. It's actually quite the opposite.
Think big.
And
you have that grit to do it too. I come from a little town too, and I just think some of the best people I've ever met are from a small town, because they just they have to figure it out because no one's coming.
Yeah, and I think it was said earlier today. I heard it, and it's in Montana we don't have access to all of the resources all of the time at the tip of our fingers. You can't hit the button and have Amazon deliver something in 30 minutes to your doorstep. I still have to drive 90 miles to buy a pair of blue jeans. And there's something about that creates just a fortitude inside of us. I like the words intestinal fortitude. I believe that Montanans have a lot of it. We have guts. We make it through harsh winters. We live in incredibly rural areas. We have to figure things out on the go, and it creates a sense of I can do this.
And you can pick up the phone and call someone.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Which is the best part. Like, it's a big state, but you're a phone call away from somebody.
And they will give you the shirt off their back. They will stop whatever they're doing and be there for you because it is just one big community.
Yeah, it's it is. So my last question for you, and I'm excited because it sounds like you travel a lot and you like to travel. What's a bucket list destination for you?
Oh, man.
Or even like an upcoming trip that you're like, oh, I've wanted to go here forever. Anywhere in the world.
So I will talk about a bucket list that I accomplished.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's great.
One of my bucket lists was to hike Machu Picchu in Peru. And so my kids were 11 and 9 when we decided to hike Machu Picchu. It's a 4-day, 27-mile hike through the Andes. We summited 14,600 feet at Dead Woman's Pass. And my kids are some of the youngest that our tour guide had ever seen to accomplish it.
Wow.
On their own. And it was a beautiful, just amazing family experience. It pushed us so hard. It was great culturally because we got to experience the Peruvian culture. We got to see dirt floor pour. We got to watch kids, literally riding donkeys to school down a mountain and then back up a mountain, while being in this vast, amazing jungle, and just seeing, really the beauty of what the world has to offer. And so, Machu Picchu was definitely on my bucket list. We accomplished it. We got home, and it was borderline child abuse. I will admit that. It was really a taxing experience. But I knew even before we started that my kids were going to be fine, and they were going to be able to accomplish it. Because, like I said, they had that intestinal fortitude. They had that grit that was instilled in them from being farm kids. I mean, they haven't had a choice. It's, you are needed for us to get this harvest in. No, yeah. I know you're 9 years old. I know you're 11 years old, but you're running a grain cart. You're taking meals out to the field.
We need you.
We need you. We count on you. We depend on you. And you're going to have to figure it out.
That's kind of a sense of responsibility. I think that a lot of rural, which most of the state of Montana is rural, so I just think that there's like you just learn a sense of responsibility at a young age. Like we were at my family's branding in May, and my cousin's like, because there's like, the dads were stuck with the kids. And I'm like, my high school basketball coach, and I'm like, this is funny. I'm like, I'm glad he's like a little rat, kind of, like he's so cute, but I'm like, he should test you. I'm like, because you deserve it. Anyways, all that to say they're climbing on stuff, but it's like, you hear, like, they were a distance away and like their dad said something and heard it immediately and did it, right? Like they just have different situational awareness. They're like very responsible just because it's intuitive, and they like, that's just what they grow up in. Yeah. They're around animals. They're around things that are kind of dangerous. They're hot. There's medicine and needles and all of those things. And they just figure it out. They have to. And,
it's the diamonds, right? They're just the coal that they, start out with, and they're just getting, the pressure, but at the same time, I think one of the things in our culture that we need to change is that we need to trust that diamond at a younger age. I think agriculture really has an opportunity here in the next 10 years to have a lot of land that's going to transfer hands. And we need to get the land in the hands of the young people. We need to, encourage those diamonds. And we need to figure out a way to let go of our own pride and our own, identity that we have with maybe that land, and get it in the hands of the kids. Get it in the hands of those people, because darn it, we are building and making the best people in the world here in Montana.
We are. And it's been so great to have you on. So thanks for coming on. If people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm really easy to find. Jillien.Streit, Streit spelled Streit, at mt.gov is my email address. If you look us up on our website at Montana Department of Agriculture, all of my contact information is on there. I pick up my cell phone. I pick up my office phone. I love getting out and being, with everybody here in Montana and just seeing the opportunities and visiting, whether it's a success or a struggle, I'm here for you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, hi, everyone. It's really excited to see you again, Sean. It's great to meet you. Special guests from Canada. So I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves and just give a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into my questions.
Sounds great. So my name is Sean Clark. I'm the Senior Trade Commissioner and Consul at the Consulate General of Canada in Denver, and temporarily taking over the acting head of mission role, so the acting Consul General for the next little while.
Wow. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, so Dave Smith. I'm with the Canadian Consulate in Denver as well, and I'm a Trade Commissioner, which means I help facilitate exchanges and trade between Montana and Canada. And I cover the technology sector, which is very broad, so everything from software to quantum and AI and digital health and everything in between. So it's a great field to cover.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot. So you guys we're at EconoQuest. I have some fun questions, but just from your perspective, what brought you here?
So EconoQuest was brought to our attention in May. We were in Billings for the International Trade Day, participating in the program and talking about Canada-U.S. relations. And we were approached about EconoQuest and a desire to have Canada represented, given that there's going to be a focus on some of the projects about the opportunities in Canada. So what better than to have someone from Canada to be part of the judging panel?
How fun. You guys, so thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I think that's where we first met, too, was World Trade Investment Day. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. David, what about anything to add on that?
No, just on the technology side, there's a strong photonics and quantum industry here in Bozeman, and since that's an area I cover, I'm looking for ways to make those international connections, particularly with just north of Alberta. There's a great quantum sector as well, so I thought it'd be great to be here for EconoQuest to help build those international rapport and bridges.
Mm-hmm. And from your guys' perspective, why is it important to be here and engaging with students, right? These are high school students that are here. They're over at the Museum of the Rockies right now. But why is it important to talk to them now at the age that they are?
I think it's important to engage with everybody, but in particular, this is the next generation that's going to be leading some of these initiatives, or some companies, or working on some of these technologies that are emerging. We just did a tour of a lab where I'm not someone who's been educated in the sciences, so
me neither.
Right.
But here we are,
and it's fascinating, and it's such a topical issue and a topic that comes up in our day to day, whether it's quantum or AI. So, what better way than to learn from students that are actually engaging in these technologies and these studies, and to hear what their perspectives are from a student's perspective, but then also to sort of share the Canadian perspective. It gives us an opportunity maybe to influence them a little bit more about the importance of our relationship.
I just think also from these students, as they're opening up into the world, there's so much information that's out there. You can learn so much about other countries and how to do business. It's so easy to do, and if we can be here to promote it or to give some energy behind it, we're excited to do that. And honestly, there's so much more that we have in common than differences. I view it as people over policies. That's great that we're here to be a part of that and to help further their interest in international work.
So you kind of mentioned some areas of opportunity for growth. What do you think that looks like between Canada and Montana?
Well, there's still quite a bit of economic integration in the energy sector, no doubt. That's the vast majority of the trade between Canada and Montana, as well as agriculture. But I think where we're heading, particularly in the tech sector, energy, natural resources, critical minerals, these are all really important sectors where we're in Canada investing a lot of effort, resources. into growing some of those opportunities. And I think that's where we see Montana as being a good partner already, and building on that those relationships and that integration to take advantage of whether it's processing or producing the critical minerals that are going to be needed in various applications, whether it's the tech industry or the defense industry. A lot of opportunity there for growth.
And, for those that maybe aren't as familiar that are listening, that are like, oh, what kind of things do we trade with Canada? I think people maybe know at like surface level or a high level, but you talked about energy, agriculture. Do you have some examples that we could give our listeners?
Sure. So Montana imports quite a bit of crude oil from Canada. So this is a different type of oil than a crude that you could procure out of, let's say, the Permian Basin in Texas. It's coming from northern Alberta, so it's a heavy sour crude. And they have facilities, primarily in Billings, that have been configured and built to specifically process that crude oil, which then goes on and is distributed throughout the state and in other states in quite a significant quantity. In fact, we were in Billings last May and had an opportunity to reach out to some of the facilities there, P66, because they bring their crude in almost predominantly from Alberta in order to meet the needs of their operation. And so we were talking about tariffs and what impact that was having on their company. Thankfully, there was a reprieve in the tariff application on energy products, so they're able to continue their operation without the major impacts on cost. But there's agriculture. You have cattle moving across the border, going north to feedlots and then coming back and being processed in other parts of the United States. So that's primarily where the trade is. There's various other industries. We see statistics that show a lot of mustard seed coming into Montana, but I think that's on its way to Missouri. It happens to go through customs on the border, but that's like the French's mustard plant down in Missouri.
Okay. We all like our mustard, so at least we're happy to pass it through the state of Montana.
Indeed.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, because you guys are a little maybe different guests than I'm going to have on the rest of the day. How long have you been in your roles in Denver? I mean, your role is interim right now, right?
Correct.
But
So the interim role is started in August. Our previous Consul General, Sylvain Fabi, who's been to Montana several times, has finished his assignment. He's retired, and so we're waiting for our next Consul General, who's already been named to arrive. She arrives at the end of November, and so temporarily I wear the two hats. But my day job, as I mentioned at the outset, is Senior Trade Commissioner. So I head up the trade team. I'm one of the few Canadians that's assigned to the consulate. We're 20 people on the team in total. Six people are dedicated to trade. I'm being one of the Canadians out of four. So the Consul General, myself, the head of the political program, and our Trade Commissioner who's responsible for agriculture. We rotate in and out of our roles every 4 years. But the consulate's been just celebrated 20 years last year. It's one of the baby consulates, if you will, across the U.S. network. We have 12 other consulates across the U.S., including our embassy in Washington.
Which I have been to. It's very nice.
Oh, it's beautiful.
The rooftop is like exquisite.
The view is
You
amazing.
got a great view of the Capitol,
I
hopefully.
did. Yeah.
Good.
Oh, yeah. It was like very hospitable. I've had a great time both times I've been there. So.
And prior to coming to we're based in Denver, but we cover a territory that includes Montana, Utah, Wyoming, and Kansas, as well as Colorado. So that's the territory that we're responsible for. And so prior to coming to Denver, I was back in Ottawa doing trade policy, trade negotiations. So business development, trade promotion, FDI attraction is kind of my role now. And so we rely on David and others in the team because they've been with the consulate for a much longer time. They have the resources. They have the networks. They have the knowledge and the corporate history, and carry us through. They do a lot of the heavy lifting, but I won't steal David's thunder. I'll let him.
I've been there since the doors opened. I guess it's my 20-year anniversary. So
congratulations!
Well,
that's
thank
a huge
you.
milestone for Canada and you.
Yeah, and I've just really enjoyed fostering this relationship with Canada and Montana, and I just think it's something that I've enjoyed so much over the years, and it's something where we build out that network, and where the other Canadians, I'm a U.S. citizen, so they'll rotate through, but I'll keep that corporate memory going, build out the network, so when an issue arises, we have the people in place to call upon or to build those relationships when we need them.
So as we look towards 2026, which is coming in quickly, what are some things you're excited about?
Excited or going to be busy with, I guess, in 2026.
Maybe both. Yeah.
Well, for us, it's where there's a lot of preoccupation, as you can imagine, is in the USMCA review. So the free trade agreement that that manages the trade between Canada, U.S., and Mexico, is up for a review this year. And so a lot of what we've been doing is really trying to reach out to companies, investors, to reiterate the importance of this process. And, a lot of people say, well, I'm not really bothered. Nothing's affecting my business, thankfully, because any good that is covered by the agreement isn't, unless it's aluminum, steel, autos, or lumber, isn't affected by the tariffs that are being imposed on Canadian imports. So, it's a matter of saying if you want that good arrangement to continue, is to make your voice heard, to let the administration know. There's a comment period that ends on November 3rd, just to say that yes, this is a good agreement that benefits Montana, and we want to see it continue. So that's part of our effort, is to continue that advocacy, but also to help companies navigate some of the challenges of the supply chains, and to let them know that maybe Canadian suppliers might be able to help them out in that regard.
And what are some of those, I'm just going to follow up with that really quick. What are some of those supply chain issues that you're seeing and that you are helping them navigate through?
So if they have, let's say, an element of their supply chains, right now we haven't seen as many acute problems because a lot of companies built up inventories prior to the tariffs coming into play. But what we're seeing, or what we're hearing, is that there's inventories are starting to dwindle, and now there's an opportunity based on their need to replenish those inventories. If they're subject to tariffs, let's say their supply chain is coming from a country that's affected by the tariffs, and Canada isn't, that potentially is a 25% savings. So we'll help them navigate based on their needs, is then to reach out to, we have a resource of offices across Canada to say, here's a need, here's a business lead, essentially. Do we know of any Canadian companies that can fulfill this need? And so it could be in manufacturing, it could be in agricultural food products, you name it. I mean, the trading relationship is so diverse that it's hard to pick any one single supply chain.
What I'm looking forward to in 2026, since I cover technology, is you can't go to any conference without hearing the two letters AI. And it's so pervasive. And Canada is the first country that came up with a national country strategy. So it's well positioned to move forward, but it can't do it by itself. So that's why we need relationships. And that's one of the things, one of my goals here is to help build that corridor, that innovation corridor that would go down from Alberta to Montana, so we can get joint research coming together, so we can share resources, so we can share funding too, to make sure these projects get new technologies that will be commercialized, which will improve our lives and result in economic prosperity for both of our nations. So I'm excited what I see here, looking forward to build on it, and I'm just going to have a lot of follow-up as I go into 2026.
Yeah, and so you talked a little bit about that strategy. What are some of those key takeaways from Canada's strategy?
Well, I mean, some of that strategy is seeing where there's complementary technologies, because Montana has some equipment or skill sets that Canada has a void. And if we can merge those two together, that's going to expedite the research. And I think it's opening up those dialogues. I think it's working towards a MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. And if we can get those exchanges, it will just strengthen this whole North America platform, and we'll be better for it. And like I said, AI, it's not going away, as we know.
No, it's not.
And
no, it sure isn't.
And Montana is well positioned, and I think just across the border in Calgary, there's some sisterhoods that we need to build upon, and I'm looking forward to fostering those.
And you guys get to lead the way in that, right? Out of your office, your team of 20.
Yeah, indeed.
That's exciting. So my next question for you is, so we talked a little bit about it, but what are, like, if you were to say, students, I hope you walk away with X after leaving EconoQuest, what would that be?
Well, part of what we'll be talking about is obviously the importance of the relationship. There's already, I think, an awareness because Montana is a border state, and I think the only state that borders 3 provinces. Other states, maybe 2.
Yeah, we're a big state, a lot of land, not a lot of people,
Indeed. And so I think it's to let them know that there'll be an inward focus on building Canada's domestic economy, and that isn't necessarily a message that we're shunning international partnerships or our relationship with the United States. Quite the opposite. It's about building on it, but there's clearly some sectors that we're going to be focusing on, which is an intent to try and improve the security in North America. So spending on border measures, for example, to secure the border, spending on defense projects, spending on major infrastructure projects. These are things that I think they're going to open up a lot of opportunities for businesses in the United States, whether it's in the defense sector, the energy sector, you name it, in part because of the effort that's going to be extended by Canada in order to make these investments in its own economy. International partnerships and international opportunities are still going to prevail.
Mm-hmm. Those are, two big things that we keep seeing at statewide events are all around defense and energy. I mean, separate, right, conferences, but the Montana Chamber just had an economic summit this fall, and every panel, session, speaker was energy, which is exciting. David, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I would just want the students to go away with just kind of an increased international awareness. You know, we all have these different consumer products that we use on a daily basis. What are the supply chains, interdependencies that maybe we don't recognize? And just to take a moment about, how do I have this great iPhone in front of me? What are all the components that come into it? Oh, and this house that's been built, what are the building products that go into it? And if we look at that, all the nations that go into it, we'll see that we're all interdependent, and trading relationships are so important. And as a student, you can play a big role in that. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to leave Montana to do that, because there's so many opportunities to get involved in trade missions, study abroads. There's just so many opportunities. You know, honestly, when I got involved in international trade, I thought I would have to move to the West Coast or the East Coast. And I was able to find it right in Colorado. And if I can do that, your students can find that here in Montana, grow and prosper, and really have a great international career here.
I really like that. And I think there's a lot of companies even that manufacture, build, and make things, and they ship them globally. So just right out of like places, and Billings has quite a few. I know Bozeman, like all across the state, which is exciting. Yeah. My last question for the two of you is, what's your ultimate bucket list item destination? Not just in the United States or Montana, anywhere in the world.
Ooh, bucket list. Maybe it's biased, but Big Sky is on my list of, so coming here as a skier to the U.S. Mountain West, I have a laundry list of resorts I'd like to visit, and Big Sky is definitely there.
Let's make that happen for you.
Well, you won't see me backflipping into Corbett's, but maybe dropping in.
We won't be doing that. Well, me neither, but
Big Sky is definitely on there, that's for sure.
It's fun. It's beautiful to ski at.
You know, I would say, being in Colorado, I love the mountains. I love the hiking, the outdoors. But I've never been to Glacier National Park. And I feel like it's just something that I should have done a long time ago, and I need to make it happen. I've been to some of the Canadian Rockies, but everyone's like, you haven't lived till you've been to Glacier. So I need to go to Glacier National Park.
Yeah, Glacier is stunning. I've only been once, honestly, because I grew up in like the complete opposite corner of the state. So to get over there, it was like a haul, but definitely worth it. Yeah. So if people want to learn more about your work and get connected, where can they find you?
So at the moment, we have a Facebook page of all things for the Consulate General, so you can follow that. It usually gives you an update as to what we're doing or what we've been doing in and around town. But we're transitioning towards a LinkedIn page, so a little more business-friendly than Facebook. But Instagram is also another way that we try to at least get the message out on social media as to what we're doing. We have a website, but it's not as active or as current on latest developments or activities that we're doing.
We'll go find you on Facebook. Yeah. Great. Well, thanks, guys. This has been fun. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ryan, we are at MSU for EconoQuest. Really excited to talk to you today. Do you just want to give our audience a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, where you're at?
Sure, Michelle. Well, thanks for chatting with me. Very exciting. So I'm from Helena, and I teach social studies, so government, history, world cultures for the Project for Alternative Learning. This is my 19th year in education.
Oh, congrats. Coming up on the big 2-0.
Thank you. I know. I started as a young 22-year-old punk teaching seniors who were 4 years younger than me, and I've survived almost 2 decades.
Wow.
So I love it. And I started at Capitol High, which is a AA high school, much larger than the Project for Alternative Learning. At PAL is what we call it. but about 60 students in all, and I brought 6 down with me to Bozeman. We came in last night, and we'll be here through tomorrow afternoon. So I'm very fortunate because of the small program that we have. I'm able to do things that I was never able to do at the bigger school. So I love it.
Yeah, that's even bigger. I'm from a small, I'm from Ecolaka, so Class C, like that's even bigger than our whole school was, 7 through 12, 60 people. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah.
And we call it alternative, but in my nearly 20 years, I've discovered that the smaller the better.
Yeah.
And the more personalized the education, the more substantive it is. And we have students who are on the precipice of dropping out. And so when they apply to PAL and get accepted, it's amazing to see that turnaround. And you see the transformation from a disengaged student who hates education, never thinks that they'll be able to do anything with their time in the classroom. And before you know it, they're coming to Bozeman to participate in something like this. Which
is really cool.
It is.
A credit to your work that you do with them. So they're lucky to have you.
Thank you so much.
How many years have you been coming to EconoQuest?
So EconoQuest alone this is the 4th year of the program, so I've come to all 4.
Wow.
The Montana World Affairs Council, based out of Missoula, they also put on a program in March called Academic World Quest. I've been doing that for, I think, 7 or 8 years now. They're vastly different programs. World Affairs is more of like a geography, current events, B, I guess you could call it, or like a quiz, where this is presentation based. And I'll be honest, I was a little leery getting involved because I took macro and microeconomics in college. That's about my limit of exposure. And trying to sell economics to students isn't easy. But when they start digging and looking into Montana industries, see how those industries affect their lives, see what jobs are available. We just got done with campus tours, seeing all of the exciting things that are happening in Montana. Very few people know how big a deal Bozeman is in the tech industry. And so getting that exposure, being able to be hands-on, talk to industry leaders, it's hugely empowering. And so 4 years, and I plan on coming until they won't have me anymore.
Nikki will always have you.
That's true.
Don't say
That's
that.
true.
Yeah, Nikki will have you moved into so much more.
She's a good friend to have, friend to have.
Yeah, she is. And I just think for the students to be on campus, I just had Mike Veselik on too with MSU is really cool because then they get to be here with other peers from students from all across the state, but they also get to see a campus and a big one.
Absolutely.
And what that campus life could be like for them. And like you said, touring just different programming and really seeing themselves there so that they look forward to their future.
I think you nailed it because if you never step foot on a college campus, especially coming from maybe lower socioeconomic backgrounds, parents, siblings did not go to college. It just seems like so far-flung, like I could never accomplish that. But just being here, being in the presence of other college students, being in academia is great. And it's, I would say, of the, few dozen students I brought to EconoQuest specifically, probably about a quarter of them have gone on to college, which is pretty good for a program like PAL because that's not typical of many of our students. And I do think it motivates them. In fact, on the campus tour, I ran into a young woman who just graduated from PAL last year, and she's here working on criminology, just left class. And so that's really cool to know that those experiences can really open up eyes.
Yeah, and so we've talked a little bit about it, but more specifically to the programming of EconoQuest, why do you think it's important for students to be part of programming like this?
Well, again, economics is such a heavy topic and maybe seemingly dull, but the world is changing rapidly. I can't remember the exact stats, but I'm probably butchering it, but it was above like 50% of the jobs that are available now are not going to be around in 20 years. And so the question is, how can we best prepare our Montana students to compete in a global economy? We had top officials from the Canadian government speaking to us earlier and talking about how important the relationship with Montana is. And so, we're a small rural state. We might not be seen as big players on the world stage, but I think that's changing. And dependence on Montana products, what Montana businesses are doing, what institutions like Montana State are contributing to the global scene, it's gigantic. And so just letting students know that that's in their backyard, that these opportunities are available, bringing it closer to home, doing the campus tours, talking to financial aid, just making it possible. And so it's not just about the economic part of it or the creation of the poster board, but as you said earlier, just exposing them to the environment and making it less daunting in the long term.
And so there's a handful of schools from across the state, but what would you say to fellow educators about, and like maybe words of encouragement to get involved with EconoQuest?
That's a really good question. When I was at Capitol High teaching advanced placement government, Nikki's predecessor had approached me about joining, at the time, World Affairs, Academic World Quest. And I just couldn't, because the College Board curriculum is very demanding and you have to kind of stick to it. You don't have time to prepare for something else and then disappear for a few days. And so I understand that challenge. So for teachers in that situation, I would encourage them to maybe explore a bit more than I did. Find ways to make it work. Get students involved maybe outside of classroom time. And I know some of these students do this more as extracurricular activity. The beauty of where I'm at now at PAL is I have much more flexibility. And so I can build EconoQuest into my curriculum. I can build preparation for world affairs into the curriculum. So my best piece of advice would be to make it work. Some way, somehow talk to your administrator. If funding is an issue, don't let it be, because Nikki
will find you money.
Nikki will find you money.
And I'm not kidding.
She's good at it. The running joke is, it's not really a joke, no one says no to Nikki.
I know. Like, I was thinking that too. I'm like, she's just become in my orbit over the past, I don't know, like less than a year.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no one says no to Nikki.
No.
But I love it, because I'm like, we all want to support what she's doing because she's so passionate about it.
So passionate. And she cares deeply about students. She will go to bat for teachers. She'll go to bat for students. And a great example, there was some concern about funding for Academic World Quest in March, and she sent out an email saying, hey, we might not be able to do scholarships. Well, she didn't quit harassing people, and she secured funding. And so now it sounds like everybody who needs scholarships will be able to get some. And so, just lean on people like Nikki. And then if people have questions, I'm readily accessible. You can look at my email, Project for Alternative Learning webpage, and I'm happy to. I serve on kind of the teacher advisory board for World Affairs and EconoQuest. And don't hesitate to reach out, because I know it's kind of scary getting outside of your comfort zone, having to plan things that you've never done before. Taking students on the road is always a little bit scary as well, but in the end, it's totally worth it. I'm not gonna lie, they're a long couple of days. By the end of tomorrow, I'm gonna have 6 students probably sleeping on the drive back home.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, but in the coming days, watching them kind of perk back up and talk about their experiences, brag to classmates back home, advertise for me, say, hey, you should really get involved, makes it totally worth it. Totally
it's like
worth
that
it.
Peer-to-peer.
The best form of advertising there is.
Oh yeah, like a little bit of peer pressure, and
exactly,
not in a good way. Though.
In a positive form.
It's a positive peer pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. She was telling me once, and because they do like an Eastern Montana tour too, and I joined one of the days that they did that. But she's like, Marcel, some of these schools, like they're like, they don't think that anyone's actually coming. So that like when they show up, the school, the teachers are like, oh my God, you're actually here, because they're very rural or just specialized smaller schools that sometimes just don't get that programming. So I think she's really doing a great job of integrating her programming into the entire state of Montana.
On that note, I have a great story about Nikki. The first time I met her, it was the middle of winter, and kind of like you just described, she wanted to come visit my school. And I was like, okay, whatever, come on by. I wasn't confident or wasn't sure if she would actually come by. She showed up in a walking boot, had a broken foot or something wrong with her foot, with the mayor of Helena, Wilmot Collins, in the middle of a whiteout snowstorm to just chat with me and my students. And there she was. And that is, if that doesn't epitomize her dedication, I don't know what does.
Yeah, so that's why we don't say no, because we're just excited and inspired. That's why we don't say no.
Exactly.
So, like for your students, but other students too that are here from across the state, what's a takeaway or message you hope that our Montana students leave EconoQuest with when they leave tomorrow?
I hope we can just inspire some young Montanans. And regardless of how they do, looking at the poster boards, there's some wonderful poster boards that look like a lot of work went into them, and maybe some on the opposite end of the spectrum, but that's just a tiny piece of it. If I could wish anything for students, it's that they meet some new people, that they make some new friends, make some new connections. You know how important networking is, and we preach that, but I don't know if kids really understand that, especially at this age. If they can find at least one aspect, one speaker, one topic that kind of captured their interest and maybe pursue it a little bit, go down a rabbit hole, do some YouTubing and Googling, I could go to bed happy, because again, it's not all about winning. It's not all about having the best presentation, but just trying to spark an interest and help these students realize what the world is going to look like. And I remember, I'm sure you do too, being a senior in high school, it's scary. You don't know exactly what the path forward.
I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
Yeah,
like, I mean that genuine. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, you just don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. And life is a long and winding path. And so being diverse, knowing a lot of people, saying yes to experiences, even if it's not comfortable. These are all things that this provides. And so, yeah, if we can send a kid home tired, well-fed, and maybe a little bit inspired, I'd call that a successful conference.
That's a huge, and I mean, they're getting to come to this, which I think is cool. I'm like, this is like an adult conference too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, this is like what it is like to go to a conference as an adult.
Exactly.
Like, you're meeting people, you're connecting, you're getting excited, talking to your peers, you're making friends. And I think like that's a huge part of it too. And I think what they're seeing too is like, no matter if you're American or like you mentioned the Canadians or whoever it is, like it's really relationship based and just getting to know someone on like a one-on-one level.
Yeah, especially in today's fraught world. So many big political stories, feuds happening. And so just making it personal and understanding, especially as you mentioned, the global aspect, meeting people from around the world. I love Montana, been here my whole life, but we're isolated. And so I think it's easy to forget how big the world is and how many cool people are out there. And so just making those connections, hugely important.
Super important. So my question on that note is, what industries or opportunities in Montana do you think have the strongest potential for international growth?
Well, I mean, you have to look at Montana's biggest industry, agriculture. We're famous around the world for our wheat, corn, beef, the list goes on. One thing I did not realize, I mean, I knew Bozeman was kind of a high-tech, industry-based city, but until visiting with EconoQuest 4 years ago, I had no idea exactly what was happening here. And, you know, seeing the lasers, seeing the fancy drones, talking to these students who are just doing amazing things with this technology.
Seeing the quantum computers,
the quantum
engine works.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, oh, this is way over my head.
But it's not just that. We also did a tour of the studio where they film PBS programming for Montana.
Oh, yeah, I did a podcast in there.
Yeah, so cool. And so just knowing what is here, again, the opportunities that exist. But specifically, I think the point of this conference is to highlight those high-tech industries. And just in the last tour I did, we were asking these graduate students about whether or not they're going to leave the state or stay. And all of them said they want to stay. And so not just fostering this talent, training these students, but getting them to want to stay in Montana, I think is a big part of what we do in this conference and competition as well.
Stay, work, maybe start your own company.
Exactly.
Yeah, you never know.
Exactly.
So my last question for you, because we're talking about international things, global things, what's a bucket list destination for you across? It could be anywhere in the world, not just Montana.
That's a great question. So I have a 4-year-old son at home. Before he joined our lives, my wife and I traveled the world quite extensively. I've been to Egypt, South Africa, Cambodia, a lot of Latin and South America. The one place that we didn't go to that I'd still like to when my son Eddie's a little bit older is the Congo. I'd love to go to the Congo Basin, go see the mountain gorillas, and unfortunately it's not the most stable part of the world right now. But that's that or Iceland. They're pretty close, but I'd say Congo is the number one spot on my bucket list. How about you?
That's
now
cool.
You got me interested.
Oh my gosh, no, that's so well, Iceland, I'm going to say on that. So we have a guy in our office. He's great. He'll like take these just like 4 to 5 day like international trips. Like he just went to Iceland for like 4 days and then came back, and he's like, amazing, one and done. He's like, go there. He's like, I don't need to go back, but like his photos were stunning. And he's like, the food was amazing. He's like, the fresh seafood was out of this world.
Oh,
so
I
that
can't
was
even
really
imagine.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know.
When I travel, I don't do resorts. I don't sit in fancy hotels. We like to immerse ourselves in the culture and the community. My last trip to Cambodia, right before COVID hit. I mean, we got out of there in January when things were kind of getting hairy in Asia. I mean, our tour guide Ben, we stayed with him and his family. They made us dishes, traditional dishes at home, and those type of experiences, as you mentioned earlier, just making those connections. And I'm still friends with him on Facebook, and we interact, and I love that, making connections that you would never otherwise make. A guy from Montana buddies with a guy from Cambodia.
But if you were ever there again, or he was ever here for anything, like even just in the U.S., you'd probably make a point to go to where he was at to just see him and hang out.
100%.
So
Absolutely.
I think that's really special.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know, bucket list for me. There's a lot of places. I think on my like immediate next destination, I really love Europe. And I'm trying to convince my husband, which I don't have to do much convincing, but I'd like to go to France.
Ooh, yeah.
And I'm also Polish, so I do want to go to Poland.
That would be
Even
cool.
though that one, people are like, Poland. I'm like, yeah, I'm Polish. I want to go.
Sure.
So.
No, I could see that. If I do Europe, which I will, I'd like to
Europe.
spend. Oh, yeah.
I've spent a ton of time there, so I'm like not a ton, but like in my
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I
and
feel
there's
like
other states or countries I need to go to, like
Sure.
South America. I've never been to Canada, so like that's
I've never
up there
been to
too.
Canada. I need to make it to
like-
Canada. I would like to go to Europe for 2 or 3 months and
Yes.
just travel.
And it's so
to all the
easy. Hop on a
countries.
plane or on a train.
Exactly.
Super easy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, thanks. This was fun.
This was a pleasure. My very first podcast.
Yeah. Wow. The vault. So cool.
Exactly.
I'm honored. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Hello, we're at EconoQuest on the campus of Montana State University. We're really excited to have you guys here. So before I ask you some of my questions, if you'd just like to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about you.
I'm Steve Eror. I'm chairman and CEO of Solidex, and I've been involved in biopharmaceutical, drug delivery, and bioscience projects and businesses now for almost 2 decades.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm Cynthia Tsai. I'm president of the board for the Montana Bioscience Alliance, and I also have my own business since 1995. I'm CEO of HealthQuest, which works with startup companies internationally and nationally to get them launched into the space they're interested in, introduce them to people that can facilitate their mission. And I currently serve on 6 startup boards, and also on the New York Stock Exchange, I'm on the board of Ethan Allen Furniture.
Wow. You two are busy.
Yes.
You have a lot going on. Do you want to tell us a little bit? So you both just did a session. And what did you talk about during your session?
Well, the goal of the session was to illuminate career opportunities in biosciences. And it was just a lot of fun to really talk about some of the misconceptions around how you enter this business, how you start out when you're young, who's in it today, and some of the challenges and some of the rewards.
And what are some of those things? So some of those misconceptions that you guys talked about.
Well, not everybody's in a lab coat and looking like Jim Henson's beaker.
They're not.
Beep, beep, beep. These are businesses. They're full-run businesses. So one of the key activities, for example, is fundraising. Even accountants are in these businesses. Management capability is... You'll see every aspect that you'd expect in a business in the bioscience, but we really focused on the goals of those companies, having a duplicity of being very rewarding financially, and also for individual people feeling like they're doing something more than just making money. They're helping people.
Yeah. I had the opportunity to be the moderator today and ask these questions: that what makes Montana so special, and why is bioscience so important globally? And Steve and I just returned from Korea and Japan with our governor and First Lady and 40 other executives. Mm-hmm. We felt that this was one of the really dynamic opportunities to meet with people globally. And I think bringing that back to Montana is really important. I really was very impressed with the CEO of Japan Bio, because they are also looking to bring in many more opportunities internationally. And I think that so much of our business is built on relationships. And like many businesses, but I think in the biotech industry, the collaboration among investors. And that's usually the side of the business that I've been on since 1989, when I started making my first investments in San Diego in biotech. And the lessons that I've learned from that point through now have really allowed me to accelerate the opportunities in the biotech world.
What is the landscape right now in Montana in biotech?
Oh, that's a broad question.
Yeah.
I think it's shockingly large, and it has probably it's laden with potential. We're about to start a new era of medicine in Montana that's clustered around the right to try a drug or a therapy that has safety data that may or may not have full national approval, but can be used in a situation which isn't necessarily terminal.
Can you talk a little bit about what the right to try is, just for listeners listening that are like maybe a little newer to the bioscience, like what is bioscience, what is the right to try, what does that mean for the state of Montana?
Well, it means that 5 companies a week are coming into Bozeman alone, let alone the entire state, to found clinics here. Can you imagine the impact over a period of time? It's probably going to be one of the fastest growing segments. And why? Because we aren't the only ones with ideas. Korea, Japan, where we've just returned from, have very advanced cell therapy, for example. We don't. It's proven safe. It's widely used.
What is it? So, like what are some of those things? Because you guys did, which thank you for being here, because I know a lot of you just returned on Saturday. So.
Well, if I'm a little bleary-eyed, that's part of it. But for example, that's treating some class of our cells that are taken from our bodies, treated, trained, if you will, and then reinserted back into our body, re-injected. And that has an ability of restoring a gene that might be missing or creating a benefit that we can't enjoy any other way. We have Americans today traveling all over the world for this. Now they'll come to Montana. Now it's perfect for us because we're free thinkers anyway.
Yeah, Montana is.
And we believe in our rights. And we are close to nature, and we believe we have the judgment and responsibility to protect not just ourselves, but the people that would be using this. We think it's a tremendous opportunity to accelerate the platform for medicine in Montana. Don't you, Cynthia?
Absolutely, Steve. And I think that Montana is still a state which has a tremendous rural population. And part of the reason this legislation came forward was to allow a lot of the rural residents of Montana to have more access. And I think we've all been in situations where we wish as a patient you had more advocacy, you had more choices. And I think that's what this wonderful legislation brought forward by Ken Bogner is doing for Montana. It's allowing us to say, what would be good for patients? And this still has to be gone through several steps so that we're all in alignment on how it will be put forward. But we see already a huge number of people calling, trying to get more information.
From all over.
From all over the world. And we're excited about it. I think this is the second gold rush for Montana.
I like that. That's good. That's a really good comparison. Yeah. An exciting time to be in it, right? Because you guys have been in it for a long time. And so, I mean, you said 20 years. You talked about since like 1980 and then 95 founding your company. What have you seen change in Montana over that time?
Well, I think we have seen younger scientists getting involved, and they have had more support from mentorship, and also because they're aware that companies can be formed with private equity money. Once they've achieved certain milestones, they are looking for partnerships and they're forming companies. And I think that's happening at an earlier stage in companies and younger participants. And that's really exciting to me when you see people in their 30s and 40s that have become world experts in Alzheimer's, ALS, vaccines.
Longevity.
And longevity. Steve and I also have the pleasure of having our neighbor in Wolf Creek who won the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2011.
Wow.
And he's still working in the area in the field of discovery. So there's so much that's happening that I think is going to come more to the forefront.
And not to mention our newest Nobel Prize winner in medicine in whitefish, just this year. Another prize in medicine.
Wow.
Now, why Montana?
Why not?
Why not? And there's a long history that would surprise most people if you look at the contributions that the state's made to medicine, from Holter heart monitors and right on through some of the most popular, successful therapies in medicine today.
And what great people, too, that are doing that. I think that's been a theme that I've heard all day in my interviews is we produce really great people in the state that then go off and do these big things, right? Whether they're out of Montana or maybe they're doing it elsewhere.
I think they have cleaner agendas somehow.
Yeah, somehow, something like that. Yeah. So what brought the two of you? If I'm not mistaken, it's your first time to EconoQuest. So how did you hear about it and get involved?
Well, we actually had come to observe an EconoQuest last year.
Oh, good. Okay.
And the energy in the room was electric. It was so exciting to see students and teachers collaborating and answering questions and being very thoughtful and competitive. And then Steve and I had an opportunity to go to a dinner that was hosted by Nikki, and got even more interested in what could we do to work with her on achieving the goals that she has for EconoQuest.
I'm an economist.
Okay.
And last year when I saw this happen, I kept thinking, why didn't this occur for me?
I know.
and I actually came across an idea of becoming an economist in France.
Oh, wow.
But I honestly think that if we could light a little bit of a fuse for some of these minds, right as that gold rush starts, we can do so much for, if we can show them that there's a massive opportunity to enter into, and it's not restricted to white lab coats and MDs and medical education. There's lots of opportunities. I think we've done something valuable, and I think economics education, if I could just put a little pitch in here, is really needed. We really need to have a better discipline for making decisions.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And so my question kind of along those, that theme of students and opportunities for Montana, and we maybe touched on it a little bit, but what opportunities in Montana do you think have the strongest potential for international growth?
For international, this is international. Let me just give a use case that'll sort of highlight this.
Let's do it,
If you're looking at cellulitis, our friends in Eastern Europe, the Russians have had an approved drug on the market for years. We don't have it here. It's working for them. It's safe. It's possible you could bring that drug to the United States and use it in right to try. Who benefits? Well, the company that introduces the drug benefits. The patient benefits. The doctor benefits, and Montana benefits. I think that's one channel. The other one is just the patient that's looking for a solution that today would have to go to India or the Philippines or Cabo.
Yeah, in which they go.
And they go.
We all know, and they go.
But to do it in a more safe environment, a more regulated environment that can be assembled here in Montana, I think is the key. And it's long overdue. And for Montana to set this leadership is really special.
Well, I also think that Steve's company, Solidex, has a tremendous opportunity, already has FDA approval, and now has an opportunity to have that same technology in Japan and several other major countries like India. And I think that the United States is a leader in the quality of many of our discoveries, not only in drugs, but certainly in medical devices and other types of therapies. So I think that we're going to see a lot more of that coming out of our state because the floodgates are going to open. And I'm excited for it. I think that anything that we do to improve the life of a patient has value every day.
And you guys are in it. And so you've been in it, so seeing some of this new exciting energy and the opportunity.
You're right, Marcel, and I think it's one thing to talk about it passively, but it really does affect getting up in the morning.
But like excitement and
your excitement,
energy.
You see a patient, it's doing something new, maybe a little more hope than you'd expect. You're part of it. Now, it might be down the road, but it's not going to be as far as it used to be.
Yeah, I was on a trip to like even Grand Rapids a couple years ago through our chamber, and there's like it's a place called Banff Health, and they're doing full body scans it's just like this really high end technology that detects cancer like very, 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 very early on, and they have like these little, lack of better terms of science, I'm not a science person, but like little rockets that can go into your body and really hit those spots instead of just doing full radiation treatment, that it can really target those cancer cells and cancer areas. So just really interesting technology.
Precision and personalized medicine are big themes right now, and that's a big factor. In the United States or North America, 1.2 million people will die from opioid abuse disorder. Oh. And I'm really happy and pleased to be part of diverting those that are affected by prescription opioid abuse into a form that's personalized and precision. Why do we take an entire body offline and a mind offline when all we're trying to do is stop pain? Yeah. So that's what our little contribution at Solidex is. It's really to end a delirium problem, stop the pain, which is key, but also to be a non-opioid solution. Mm-hmm. And so there's really nothing else there. And so we're happy to be part of that story.
Well, I think also to meet with very young, dynamic PhDs up in Great Falls like Tiffany Hensley McBain, who is working in longevity medicine, and being able to identify what is causing inflammation in the body with the simple blood test. And I think this is one of those grand opportunities for individuals to take ownership of their immune system. So it's remarkable, and we get to see new discoveries every week.
Coming out of Montana.
And it's so exciting to know that this kind of progress is being made, and more collaboration is happening as well.
Yeah, so the students we've had programming today. They have more things ahead tomorrow. But as they leave and go back to their hometowns, what do you hope that they take with them after attending EconoQuest?
Oh, I think I hope a door's been opened, and I hope they know how to do it. The one thing we have is a rural population. So there's not a lot of mixing and colliding and sharing ideas. But if you can plant the idea with EconoQuest, and they can go back and build on it remotely, I think you've opened a door for them that they may not have even been aware of before. That's what I think is interesting.
Well, I think the influence and the opportunity to learn from professionals, get a mentor, and be exposed to other new ideas and projects. I know I had my Barbie doll next to my microscope growing up, and it was because I liked both things. You don't have to give up something to enjoy something else, in my perspective. So I think these students were primed for interest, curiosity. Those were the things that were mentioned quite often. Yeah. And then it was also mentioned to do as many other things as you can that build on your personal interests, your curiosities. It's not just you have to just study science. You can be a lawyer and work in the sciences. You can be a marketing person, an accountant, an economist. My background is Wall Street and financing biotech. So I look at things from first from the people. Who's the team? Mm-hmm. And I think EconoQuest is team building. It's working with students to build teams.
And seeing the strengths of others, which I think both of you have talked on. And I would love to sit down with you at some other point, because I feel like you guys just have such great experience and things to share. But kind of back to your point of you need all kinds of people in an organization, right? You need the scientists, yes, but you also need the marketer and the business development and the finance and all of that to build one of those companies to make them really great.
You know, if one of them starts out thinking, I'm going to be the next wonderful AI engineer, and there's nothing that doesn't mean he can't contribute to our health situation and still be an AI engineer.
Exactly.
That fits in the program. But because bioscience is relatively new, it's not a fireman or a policeman. You know, they need exposure to it. They need to know how to get into it. And I think that's part of what I hope we can do a little bit, is just make sure they understand the door's open, they have a way in.
Yeah, and I think having both of you here, I know Nikki, but thank you, and I know Nikki appreciates it too, just being at EconoQuest, and they get to hear from both of you and hear like what is bioscience, right? And get a little bit of an insight, because they maybe don't know, coming from small towns or wherever they're coming from, that's even an industry that exists. My last question for you, I've asked everyone, and you guys seem like you travel a lot, so I'm curious. What's a bucket list trip for you? Or if not a bucket list, maybe what's coming next for you on your... You just got back from Japan.
I know what she's going to say.
Okay, I can't wait. What?
Go ahead.
I think we love Montana. We're here because we've been everywhere else. And you know, we're fortunate enough to have been to maybe 120 countries.
Wow.
And so in 2 million miles, it's time for us to find a place where we can curl up and read about something, or be here and enjoy the nature. It feeds your soul in a way that being in an airplane seat might not. So we're quite excited to be here, and we met some fabulous people, and we end up traveling anyway. But for me, it's really my bucket list would be going into Bob Marshall.
Okay, yeah.
And observing firsthand some biology, you know, that would be it.
Well, just 3 weeks ago, we spent the whole day with a geologist and Fish and Wildlife going through Yellowstone Park.
Wow.
But I'd say that one of the important things about Montana is that we keep bringing our friends here rather than us getting on a flight all the time to travel. And we are going to New York tomorrow for the Pre-Galleon Awards, which will bring scientists from all over the world that actually have a product in the market. But that's an event we do each year. But I would say that exposing a lot of our friends that live on the East Coast or California, inviting them to come to Montana, stay at our ranch, and take them fly fishing, it's a game changer.
They probably love coming to visit, getting the invite.
Well, it started during the COVID, and Cynthia said, you know, we can't not meet our people.
Come out.
So either we're going to have to go there, which is going to be terrible, or we invite them here, and it's really fascinating, the experience we've had. We haven't had a single challenging experience. And yeah, well, they might not be into fish so much or fly fishing, but they understand meditation, and they see it from that angle. And the nature really has an effect on people that a good restaurant never will.
And I'd also say big sky and seeing the stars. We've just had visitors from Utah, and they said, we don't get to see the stars like you see them here. And I think just having that kind of quiet and peacefulness is a real inspiration for people.
It is, and it's a different pace, but you can still have like the access to all these great industry career opportunities with the lifestyle of Montana.
Living today is about distraction, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you can get rid of it, it's a huge plus.
And Montana's pretty.
Yeah.
Happy to call it home.
Pretty.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for joining. If people want to get connected with you and learn more about what you do, where can they find you?
Well, I'm online at solo-dex.com, and that might be the easiest way.
And I would say we're both on LinkedIn, so you can go to Cynthia Ekberg Tsai on LinkedIn, or call us up, 917-297-3674.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to do this, 801-631-7288. And, Steve Eror on LinkedIn is a good way.
Awesome. Connect with you guys. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for being here at EconoQuest.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Our pleasure. Bye-bye.
Mike, we're on your
on
campus at Montana State University. Tell us your name, what you do, and then we'll get into my questions.
Mike Veselik. I'm the Director of Economic Development and Impact here at Montana State University, which basically means that I am trying to make the university more accessible to the private sector, nonprofits, state government, help people get into the university, understand how we can partner with them better. Then another key piece is making sure that our research doesn't just stay at the university. As a land-grant institution, we have an obligation to serve the state of Montana, and when we are doing research, we want to ensure that companies in Montana, individuals, families, whoever can benefit from it knows what's happening here so that they can take advantage of that.
And how long have you been in this role?
Almost 2 years.
Because I feel like I see you everywhere at every economic development thing I'm at. So
the goal is to be everywhere.
You are.
All the time, all at once.
Crushing it. Okay, so we're at EconoQuest in the sub at MSU. I have some questions. So my first question for you is, why do you think programs like EconoQuest are important for Montana students and the future of our workforce?
When you think about the jobs that we all have now, they weren't the jobs that we wanted when we were second grade, fifth grade, eighth grade. I wanted to be a lawyer, a weatherman, a cop. I wanted to do all these things because that's what I saw. I never imagined a world where economic development, where you just go around talking about the institution you're working for, the community you're working in, helping to sell it, helping to get people aware of it. With that particular business focus, I never knew that. And so these opportunities like EconoQuest get to expose students to all of these things that they don't see on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. Think of who you interacted with when you were 10, 15 years old. You interacted with, your teachers, firefighters, police officers, the jobs you saw on TV. Mm-hmm. Maybe some kid goes home and watches The Pit with their parents and they think they want to be an ER doc, but hey, there are so many other ways to do stuff like that.
Spy.
Yeah, and so opportunities like EconoQuest give you the chance to really see that there's so much more out there to do.
And I think what's cool about that is we're also on the campus, so they're getting exposed to industry, other foreign delegations to a certain extent, but also they're on campus and seeing a university, which maybe they haven't been here before. Maybe some of them have. I think some have not.
And I think for a lot of students, right, they don't think about a 2-year or 4-year degree until they set foot on a campus and realize, wow, there's people from my community. There's people from my small town in Montana. There's people from my tribal group. There are people who are into lacrosse and knitting and rugby and movies and everything in between, and realizing the diversity that the state holds and the diversity that a university campus brings.
Especially MSU. You guys are big.
MSU.
Yeah.
17,000 students.
It's a lot. So my next question for you is, from your perspective, how's Montana connected to the global economy?
It's a great question.
It's a big question.
I'm trying to think of one smart thing to say, because there are so many ways, right? Mm-hmm. When you think about the wheat that we grow here, Director Jillien Streit was just talking about this. When you think of the wheat we grow here, it is sold around the world. When you think about the cattle that are raised here, they are sold around the world. When you think about the people who come to places like Yellowstone and Glacier, I have a almost 3-year-old. She's been to Yellowstone a half dozen times.
It's more than me.
Right?
Wow, girl. I love that for her.
And every time we're there, I think for so many people, this is a bucket list trip.
They come from all over the world.
They come from Asia. They come from Europe. They come from South America, Australia, New Zealand, Africa. Take your pick of a country. I bet some of those people want to come to Yellowstone. So to think that we are cut off here just because we're in the middle of the country, or we are not seen as worldly as New York or San Francisco or LA, that does not mean that we don't have these deep ties around the world. In fact, one of my favorite Montana facts is that Senator Mike Mansfield, who was a longtime senator from the state of Montana, is the longest serving person as ambassador to Japan. Mike Mansfield served for 12 years as ambassador to Japan. Wow. And so we have these great ties into Japan because of his leadership and because of the work he did over there. Senator Max Baucus was appointed to be ambassador to China, right? We have these ties where people from Montana are going out into the world. Then when you look at our cities and our towns around the state, like Butte, at one point...
It's a fave.
Of course, everybody.
We all
right?
love Butte. No one's ever had a bad time there.
But Butte at one point had more languages spoken there than anywhere else in the country. We have always been a state of diversity and a state with an international focus. We there's so much happening here that we have to share it with the world.
Yeah, I would agree, and I really like that. You guys have students from all over the world.
Yep.
All of our schools do.
Absolutely.
At some point, right? Like, I went to a small one. They recruited a lot of French and Swedish, but this other school right up the hill or over recruits from other parts of the world too, and so just having that cultural diversity. So we are on campus. There's a lot of, like, obviously we're here for high school students, so their teachers, their schools are participating, you're participating, others from the university are. Why do you think it's important for businesses in our state to participate in events like this?
It's a lot of you don't know what you don't know. You don't know the opportunities that exist. You don't know the supports that are there. I find often when a business wants to come talk to campus or work with folks on campus, they say, hey, I emailed this person but didn't hear back. I'm like, well, let's talk. I can help you there. By the way, that wasn't the right person to email. And so when you have folks in this economic development space or folks who come to these events, they are always looking to help. And that's a huge piece of these events, is getting businesses here. Take an hour, take 2 hours out of the day to be here, and you might make a connection that makes a pretty significant difference. Additionally, trade internationally is easier than you think.
Tell me more.
It is easier than you think because there are people here to help you do it. You don't have to do it by yourself. Trying to read the Federal Register and all the rules and regulations around trade, what can be traded, what cannot be traded, what the tariffs are, you don't have to do that on your own. We have people in the state at the Montana World Trade Center, et cetera, that can help open that door for you and explore if it's a possibility. Might not be. Not every business is it a good fit for, but quite a few, you'd be surprised to learn that it definitely can be.
Importing, exporting, yeah, there's a lot of professionals just in the state that can help with a lot of that. So speaking of students, what's a takeaway that you hope that these high school students leave campus with when they leave tomorrow?
That the world is both so much bigger than you realize, but also so much smaller. Going to a new place is scary and it's hard, especially if you don't speak the language or you don't know the culture that well, but putting yourself out there is the growth opportunity. It's once you hit that edge and being able to expand out. If you stay inside your bubble, you stay inside your circle, you can have a very rich and fulfilling life, but expanding that a little wider and pushing yourself at the edges of your comfort zone is where you're going to really see that growth. So I'm hoping that students see, wow, there's a lot out there. A lot of these countries are doing really cool things. There's lots of opportunities, but also realizing there's probably a Montanan there who would be happy to help. Montanan living in Switzerland, living in France, living in the UAE or South Africa or Egypt or Malawi or anywhere in the world. Take your pick. You can probably find somebody who's a friendly face who was to someone who came in and didn't know anything and wants to help.
And they're so willing to help. Montanans are like, who do you like? They just want to, to know who you know, maybe from their town or whatever. Or you're from Montana and you're like thrilled beyond to see them.
I saw this chart once that said what states have the most pride of being from their state, and Montana is right up there.
And you've experienced other states.
Yeah,
like, you've lived in other states. Are we stronger than those that you've lived in? We don't need to name names.
I lived in Washington D.C. for a while, and when you live in D.C., there are people from all over the country: Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, South Carolina, Arkansas, Utah. By far the best organized group, without a doubt, was Montana. And we had far fewer people than like Texas or California or New York in Washington, D.C. There were Montana events all the time to go to, and the Montana crowd, those expats still see each other all the time, et cetera.
That's fun.
And it is a ton of fun to go back and visit and to get to see those folks. So yes,
we stick together.
There's definitely, there's a definite, there's internal rivalries such as between Bozeman and Missoula.
Cat Grizz. Oh my gosh, it's coming up.
But it's like a family. You can fight inside the family, but you present a united front to the world.
That's good. It's almost so good we could end on it. But my last question for you, and I'm excited because you've been to a lot of places across the country, across the state, across the world. What's a bucket list item for you?
whenever it hits fall, I have this strong urge to be on the British Isles, whether that's in Britain or Scotland or Ireland. But I'm picturing a cozy pub with a little fire crackling, the fall colors going. You're in a warm sweater,
and it's raining out,
and it's maybe that light misty drizzle that you get over there, and a nice adult beverage with you, maybe reading a book or having a conversation with somebody. But there's something to that part of the world this time of year, that just kind of crispy fallness that just hits perfectly. And so that's, if I could buy a plane ticket right now and go somewhere, Scotland, Ireland, the UK, all sound lovely.
That's where we'd find Mike.
Yes.
Cool. Well, Mike, thanks for coming on. If people want to connect with you and your Office of Economic Development, where can they find you?
The best thing to do, drop me a note, michael.veselik@montana.edu. Would love to connect more people to the university, see how we can help, see how we can get more involved in your communities around the state. We would love to be a part of it.
And we had you on so you have a full episode that's aired too. So you can listen to that and really hear about what cool things you guys have going on.
Yeah,
at MSU.
Everything that's happening in research and economic development at MSU.
Cool. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to The Vault. Connect with us on Facebook at The Vault at 201 North Broadway or Instagram at TheVault_201. Or check us out on our website, thevault@201.com, where you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter. See you next time.